All right, welcome back to Ideas That Make an Impact. I'm your host, Jeremy Jones. Today, we're joined by guest Thom Rigsby. Thom is an experienced entrepreneur for over 25 years of business experience with companies, in the Fortune 50, as well as mom and pop organizations. So before we dive into our three big ideas that we're talking with Thom today, Thom, would you mind, just for our listeners that are not yet familiar with you, you mind introducing yourself, a bit about your background and the work that you do today?
Sure, Jeremy, I'd love to. And thanks for having me today.
You're very
Uh,
welcome.
in terms of background, I think you hit it in the introduction. I've done a little bit of everything with companies from the Fortune 50 all the way down to the mom and pop
Mm-hmm.
level. My background originated in technology, and it was really through the application of technology to solve problems that I learned that entrepreneurship and business ownership is really about solving problems for other people at a profit. And so I just kind of took that theory and ran with it. And now I'm on businesses 13 and 14, I think, that I've started from scratch.
Wow, no kidding.
Yeah. So, and look, just, and the reality is some of them were great successes. We're able to have some successful exits. Most of them just kind of ran a course as some businesses do. And then there are the couple that are still smoldering holes in the ground. So,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, the reality is we can learn from all of those. And so hopefully
Mm-hmm.
the good and the bad. And I've been able to put together a program where now we work with business owners to take their unique skills, experiences, and goals and apply not just my expertise, but that of my team to help them create a personalized plan to really create that lifestyle freedom that they were looking for when they started the business, even if they didn't know that that's what they should call it. So that's
Mm.
kind of the work that we do today.
Awesome. That makes sense. So the first idea that we're going to spend a couple of minutes here is you have a very strong belief that we're uniquely gifted, talented, and placed to live an abundant life, and really we each can make an impact on the world. So tell us how you view this concept here.
Well, I really do believe this very strongly that we each have a role to play. And the analogy I like to use is that of a puzzle.
Hmm.
You know, you might have 500 or 1,000 pieces in the puzzle. And if you've ever worked a puzzle and you got down to that last piece and you're looking around for it like, oh man, I lost the last piece, right? There's something about that sense of accomplishment. The other 999 pieces that you look down and think, well, I got close. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
it's a huge accomplishment, but there's still something missing. And so each one of us are uniquely gifted and talented to play the role of that puzzle piece. So it's not just me and what I do, but it's the impact and influence that I have on you, your audience, my clients,
Hmm.
their audience. And, I think I learned this pretty early on from my mom. She taught high school for 20 years, my whole childhood.
Hmm.
And one of the things that I was able to witness firsthand was the impact that she had had on the lives of her students and then their children and then their children.
Hmm.
And we call them grand students, how her students' children come back around and are now students. But when we really embrace that role that we're supposed to play, I believe that we are fully equipped with everything we need for that role. Where we run into a problem is where we start trying to do other things that we're not equipped or gifted or talented to do because they have a big paycheck attached to them, or culturally somebody said this is what I'm supposed to do. um, and I'm a big fan of TED Talks,
Hmm.
and there's one by Sir Kenneth Robinson where he talks about, and for a long time it was the most popular TED video, where he talks about teaching creativity out of children, and how a lot of well-meaning adults in their lives say, oh, you're a fantastic artist, a fantastic dancer. You're a great actor, but what are you going to do for a living?
Hmm.
And so what I want to encourage people to do is understand where your gifts and talents are and embrace those. Don't look at them as a hobby. Look, find a way to take those gifts and talents and marry them with the path toward your legacy, which is calling you. There are things that come back to mind. Oh, I should work on this. I should do this. I really want to start a business. I really
Mm.
want to learn the piano. Those things that keep calling you, those are your legacy bits that you are uniquely gifted and talented to do, and they're calling to you. So answer that call and follow that path.
I love that. The only other thing I want to touch on here is you say that we can have an impact on the world. Some people just feel like, oh, I'm just like, how can I have this significant impact? Like, how do you view that? How people can have really have an impact on the world?
Well, I think you have to look at it this way. Um, I think a lot of people hear the word legacy and they see big giant rock monument in the park,
Mm.
right? And so they think, oh, I'm never going to influence the world. I'm never going to impact anybody else's life. I can't create something that's worthy of a giant stone monument in the park.
Yep.
But the reality is that each one of us every day leave little pebbles on the ground behind us.
Hmm.
And it's the cumulative effect of leaving those little stones and gravels that pave the road for those that come after us that make it easier for them.
Yep.
And so, when we think about the size and the scope and the enormity of impacting the world, oh man, that's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But you just have to do it one pebble at a time. And I think if you'll do that, you, you would be amazed at the people that are impacted and touched by the things that you contribute to the world.
I love that. What a great way to look at that. So awesome. Now let's move into idea number 2 here.
Okay.
Is you have a concept where there's 2 keys to get stuff done, is knowing the outcome and then saying no to the things that do not get you there. So let's start with that
Okay.
framework of why do you feel that people actually don't get things done? And then let's go into those 2 keys.
Well, I think that, well, it's just like email. I mean, email is kind of my go-to example here. I know. And everybody has that reaction, though. Oh man.
Yeah. Yeah.
We even talk about kind of fancifully this idea of inbox zero, where there's nothing in my inbox,
Mm-hmm.
and I can never get there. I mean, look, man, I get hundreds of emails a day, hundreds, and if I can get to zero, anybody can.
Mm-hmm.
And look, Google's even helped us out, right? If you use Gmail, they make this great tool in Gmail to help you get to inbox zero.
Yep.
You click on the select all and then the delete.
Mm-hmm.
Bang, I'm at zero. Now, did I get anything accomplished? No, but I got to inbox zero.
Right.
So I think what happens is we don't really know the outcome that we're trying to achieve. We get so used to and indoctrinated in this idea that, well, it's 8:00, I'm supposed to be at my desk working. Okay, well, what do? Well, I go through email. Okay, for what purpose? I don't know. Right?
I get on the hamster wheel. Isn't that what you wanted to hear? It can be like a vortex of time, sending emails, getting a few, and they without a purpose. Absolutely. That makes sense.
Yeah, and God bless the social media marketers that have to spend time in Facebook. I'm
Yeah.
getting sucked down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. So you've got this framework of first know the outcome that you're trying to create, and
Right.
then saying no to the things that don't get you there. And I love that, the simplicity of it. So tell me how you've been able to apply that for yourself.
Sure. Well, I'm a big fan of simple.
Yep. Me too.
It's easy to overcomplicate things. It's
Yep.
hard to make things simple. if we begin by knowing the outcome, right? Then what that does for us is it gives us a decision matrix, right? Does this activity I'm about to spend my time on, does this move me closer to my outcome or further away? If it moves you further away, say no. And a great example. I mean, I worked in the corporate world for a long time. And I'm almost ashamed to admit at this point that I had Outlook set up to automatically accept every meeting request that I was sent.
No. Oh man.
Whoever
Yeah.
Microsoft came up with that idea needs to be taken up back and had a strong talking to.
A strong talking to. I love that. Oh, funny. Wow.
Then one day I realized, I sat through most of my day was meetings, and now I'm going to go home, take my laptop home, and spend the next 2 or 3 hours going through email because I was in a meeting.
Right.
How about if I just didn't go to the meeting? What would happen? And so I ran this experiment, and I turned off the automatic accept, and I started declining meetings that I didn't feel like were relevant to me or that I could have an impact on.
Yeah.
And occasionally I would get the meeting organizer would do this amazing thing. They would use the phone to make a phone call, call me and say, hey, we really need you at this meeting. Okay, why? And if they could tell me why, then I would go. If they couldn't tell me why, but because look, the reality, and I did this is why I did it, was FOMO, right? It was fear of missing out. And I didn't want everybody else to know what was going on and me not know what was going on. And so I went to these meetings, and they were snooze fest. Right? And so I just started saying no. And the things that were really important, they would come back up. And in all reality, in all honesty, that select all delete from your inbox works the same way. If it's really important, it'll come back up. So if we begin by understanding the outcome that we're trying to achieve, and then use that as a selection criteria, do I go to this meeting or do I not? Do I answer this email or do I delete it? And then just saying no to the things that don't move us toward that outcome, it's amazing how much progress you can make in a short period of time.
Yep. Totally agree. What simplicity and wisdom there is there. So I hope all of our listeners really take that to heart. So let's go into the third big idea here. And this one is the P4f method for creating success at anything. So let's start from kind of the early stages. How did you come up with this method?
Well, for a long time, I have practiced kind of management by whiteboard. My background was in technology. I did software and app development, led those teams for a while, and had some exposure to Scrum and Kanban and that sort of project organization style. So basically, the idea is you take a task, you write it on a sticky, and you put it on the whiteboard. And as you complete tasks, you move them from to do, to doing, to done. Yep. And it's just a convenient, but for me, very effective, because I'm a visual and kinesthetic learner. A great way to organize the work and be able to visualize where anything is at any given point in time. So from that, I just boiled that down to this idea of what are my 5 major moves that I need to make today. And that's where the P and the 4F equals 5. That's where the 5 came from. The P and the F, and I'll give you the details in just a second. The P stands for priority, right? And it's priority singular. When the word priority entered the English language in the 1400s, it existed in the singular form until the 1800s. So 400 years, we didn't have a word in the English language that represented multiple priorities.
Wow.
The reason it entered the English language in the 1800s is because that's when industrial engineers came along with the Industrial Revolution, and some project manager said, hey, we can have more than one.
Wow, that's so
And
funny.
the management industry was born. But the reality is I had this kind of epiphany moment working with a project manager at one point. He said, okay, what are your number one priorities today? And I thought, what do you mean priorities plural? How can you have more than one number one priority? So the P in the P4f model stands for priority. And then the 4Fs are the other 4 focus areas that you have for the day. So if you're a fan of simplicity, here's a very simple to-do list. It's 5 things. Every morning I start my day with a to-do list that has 5 things on it. One of those is my priority item. If I do 100 things today and I don't get this priority item done, I've lost the day. But if I get only this priority item done today and nothing else, I won the day. And then I have a scoreboard in my journal where I keep up with wins and losses. And as long as I'm having a winning season, I'm in good shape.
Wow.
Now, when I share this with people, almost inevitably I get the feedback, oh, you don't understand. I have more to do than 5 things. Right? And I say, okay, well, that's simple. You go ahead and knock out the first 5 before lunch, and then at lunch you can pick another 5. Right? And then at the end of the afternoon, if you need to, pick out another 5 for that evening. Inevitably, they come back to me and say, you know what, 5's a good number.
Yeah. All right. So there's one priority item that's a win for the day. Then there's 4 other items that fall below it.
Yes. So the way I write this, and I've made a little video, I have a little video on my website that explains how to do this. But the great thing about it is I can manage my entire to-do list for today on an index card, on a Post-it note. I write mine in my journal, because in the bottom left-hand corner of every page, every daily page, I write the letter P, the letter F, 2, 3, 4. And then those are my 5 to-do items for the day.
Yep.
And, what it does more than anything else is it sets the day with intention for me.
Yep. I like that.
Begin the day. I'm a big believer in beginning with an attitude of gratitude also. But after I do that, then I set intention and say, okay, what do I really need to accomplish today? And that's my priority item for the day. So now, as I'm making my choices throughout the day, I ask the same question. Does this move me toward completing my priority item, or does it move me further away? And, the reality is that we choose anyway. Even if we say, well, I've got 3 big things I've got to get done today. Okay, great. You get to 11:55 p.m. Okay. You have 5 minutes left in the day. You haven't completed any of those 3, and it takes 5 minutes to complete any one of them. If you can choose at 11:55, then you could have chosen at 6 a.m.
Right.
We just don't want to.
Absolutely. That makes perfect sense. All right. So final question, and then I'll have you share with the listeners where they can connect with you, your website. You also have a podcast and a radio show, which I think are all on your website as well. So we'll share that with the listeners in just a moment. But I want to ask you a specific question, both for myself and for all of our listeners as well, that are entrepreneurs building and growing a business. What's the one very best advice that you would give someone that has a lot of focus? They want to build and grow a really solid, really structured, really effective business for long term. What's your, if you can give a couple of keys, what's your best advice?
I think the first thing I would say is don't follow your passion. Mm-hmm. And I know that's counter to what we hear a lot of today.
Yep.
I mentioned earlier that our job as an entrepreneur is to solve problems for other people at a profit. And too often what we do is come up with an idea because I'm passionate about it, and then try to cram it down other people's throat.
Yep.
It's much easier if you find a group of people that you like to work with, figure out a problem that they have, and then solve that problem.
Yep.
Right? I'm a veteran. I have an affinity for working with veterans. So I spend a lot of, and because I am one, I spend a lot of time with them.
Mm-hmm.
I understand some of the issues that they have. So, when 2 or 3 people say, I wish somebody would figure out blank. Okay, I'll go figure that out and then bring that back. There's a very good chance that people will pay for that solution if I create value for them. So number one, I would say, find the audience, find the market that you want to serve, find the problem that's prevalent in that market, and then solve that problem. Don't approach it from a perspective of, I have an idea, now I need to educate my market. Anytime I get a client that says I'm having trouble educating my market, I know that they went about it backwards.
Wow. Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
And then it is possible to apply your passion, but don't follow your passion.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Rowe, who was the host of Dirty Jobs on the Discovery Channel for a long time, says frequently, don't follow your passion, but bring your passion to what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if we would be wise to follow that advice, because I'm passionate about time and location freedom, right? So I make choices in how I build my business and how I run my business that minimize the impact on my time and location demands.
Yep.
Right. And I think if you do that, if you find the market to serve that market, and then bring your passion to serving that market, I think you'll be much happier and much more successful.
Awesome. A lot of wisdom packed in there. So thank you so much for sharing that. What is the best way for our listeners to connect with you and follow you online?
The very best way to find me is on the website, thomrigsby.com. I know it's not that creative, but it works pretty well.
Great.
And I'm a poor speller also. I spell my name THOM instead of TOM. But thomrigsby.com. I would love it if your audience is interested, if they would join me for my 5-day-a-week podcast in the mornings. That's on Facebook, but the easiest way to find is just 7minutesinthemorning.com, get you to the right place, and you can watch those podcasts there.
Awesome. Thanks so much for sharing some wisdom and taking some time with us here today, Thom. Really appreciate it.
You bet, Jeremy. My pleasure.
All right. Excellent. For all of our listeners, we're going to link up all the resources in Thom's website on our show notes, and you can connect with our audience and get the show notes by going to thebookdistrict.com, and you can get everything there. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.